Well, once again, James Comey's still in the news, which I knew was going to happen. It's going to be, well, for the next few days anyway, a daily thing. They're still gathering information. I don't know why they still have to gather information when it was written um, right in the sand. So, you know, that's how it is. But anyway, I can't believe what he actually said in his post. It said that he saw those shells when he was on a beach walk. Man, how stupid do you have to be? You know nobody's going to believe that. You just don't walk up on something like that. You did it. You dumb ass. You did it. It's that simple. Anyway, Laura Ingram is going to dive into this. So let's just take a look.
Jim Comey is now and always has been a sanctimonious prig. And now
Wait, a prig, she said? No, he's a prick.
he's a sanctimonious prig who's been questioned by the Secret Service over his threatening post against Trump. Two sources telling Fox late this afternoon that the disgraced former FBI director snuck in through a garage entrance to tell the Secret Service agents his side of the story. We're going to bring you more as we get it. But first, let's remind everyone who James Comey really is.
Yes.
As FBI director, long before the George Floyd riots, he was apologizing for law enforcement. He was doing the usual liberal guilt dance, fueling a racial narrative that made him kind of more tolerable as a tolerable Republican when he spoke in 2015 at Georgetown University.
Something happens to people in law enforcement. Many of us develop different flavors of cynicism that we work hard to resist because they can be lazy mental shortcuts. For example, criminal suspects routinely lie about their guilt.
Hold up on that. Just hold that thought. He said that criminal suspects routinely lie about their guilt. Well, this is true. I mean, take a look at it. All right, check this out. Okay, now here's a list. All right, you got Letitia James, you got Fannie Willis, Jack Smith, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden. Hello, and the list goes on. And he is saying that those people are not criminal suspects, but they are. They're in the news. They're in court. They're being looked at.
And nearly everybody that we charge is guilty.
Well,
Exactly.
guilty.
Yes.
But sometimes, look, the first instinct of the accused, Jim, is to lie. And that's precisely what he's doing now. After posting, then deleting that photo on Instagram that's widely considered to be a threat against the President of the United States, 8647. Now, Comey claims that he knew 47 was a reference to Trump, but didn't know what the numbers together signified. And that once the threat of violence was raised, well, he immediately deleted the post. Well, no one with a brain is buying it. Trump certainly isn't.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason. He's calling for the assassination of the president.
Exactly. All right, but now here's the thing. All right, they did come to his house and pick him up and take him to the field office for questioning. Okay. Everything is written in the sand, so to speak, which is true. All right. I still have some sort of a problem with why isn't he being arrested? That is a threat against the president. Why isn't he being arrested and held, being arraigned, and given a court date? Why is he not being arrested? This is what I do not get. The Justice Department is super slow about doing stuff like this, and I don't understand why. If it was you, if it was me, we'd be in jail, sitting there waiting for an arraignment whenever it comes around, but not anyone in politics or some sort of an authority like the former head of the FBI. Why not?
Look, Trump's comments about Comey are right on the money. Now, remember, we're talking about a guy, the former FBI director, who helped set the wheels in motion with Mike Flynn, all the way through the phony Russia collusion scandal, and then, of course, we can't forget early on his get-out-of-jail-free decision on Hillary.
Do you think the Russians have leverage over President Trump?
I don't know the answer to that.
Think it's possible?
Yes. I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible.
He could be wearing an ankle bracelet while accepting the nomination at the Republican convention. You could have a president who is potentially incarcerated when he's elected.
Trump is the leader of a cult who has radicalized his followers, and dealing with a radicalized populace is incredible.
You know, this is what gets me. The Democrats, they're always blaming the other person when they are the ones that are actually guilty. They are the guilty ones, but they want to throw the blame on somebody else to make it look like it's not them, like they're the good guys. I don't know.
Incredibly challenging. That's a phenomenon we've seen in Islamic radicalism.
The man has been seething about Trump from day one. He greenlit the surveillance of the Trump campaign, and he must have been fuming that Trump won in 2016. Remember the curtain video when he tried to hide from Trump when he was actually in the White House?
I look, and right next to me is this blue curtain, and I'm wearing a blue suit that doesn't match perfectly, but close enough. So I'm thinking, how great is that? I got a little camouflage, and so I start moving over, and I pressed myself against the blue curtain, thinking, this is my save. This will save me from having this public embrace with the president.
Why does he want to hide? Why is he trying to camouflage himself so that he doesn't have to embrace himself, so he says, with the president? Why is that? Why is he hiding? Or what is he hiding?
Then he was infuriated about being fired, of course, and livid that the Mueller report was a dud. And he probably hasn't slept since Biden's disastrous debate performance. But Comey's playing with fire now. We already know that 2 people tried to kill President Trump, with one actually hitting him at Butler. And this was preceded by years of celebrities calling for violence against Trump, normalizing what is now known as the assassination culture.
How dare he say the things he does? Of course I want to punch him in the face.
Right. There we go. Yes!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
You know, why wasn't Madonna arrested? That's a threat. That's a threat. Why was she not arrested? Why? I don't know. Look, De Niro and Madonna and I don't know. Let's go with I don't know. But that rat hole that they live in California is it. I don't know. It's right there with New York City. It's a shithole. Okay, as far as I'm concerned. Why don't they focus on their local government for cleaning up their state, or even just the city they live in? There's a serious case of TDS for one thing, but these Democrats are completely out of their minds, demented, and they have no clue. They're only concerned. It's all money. Okay, the bottom line is it's all about money. They're getting caught, and they're afraid of losing everything they have. In all reality, they should lose everything they have.
And it continued this week, where it was darkness on the edge of clown with Bruce Springsteen.
In my home, the America I love, the America I've written about, that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years, is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration.
Hold up here. Corrupt. Man, you're Bruce Springsteen. You are ass backwards, my friend. Well, not my friend. He's garbage as far as I'm concerned. He just needs to go stick his head in the sand and let everybody park their bicycles in his ass. But why would you go to another country and slam the United States of America? Why would you do that? That is uncalled for and is completely off the scale of being competent.
Go off script here for a moment. The America that Bruce Springsteen wrote about, the steel mills, the workers in Jersey. Hey, dude, they all voted for Trump because
That's right.
He didn't sell them out. You did.
You dumb shit.
He should be on Trump's side if he really believed the lyrics he wrote. But he abandoned those people long ago. Do people pay at concerts for a political lecture? Years ago, I wrote a book called Shut Up and Sing. 10th Avenue frees him out.
Shut up and sing. In his case, just shut up. Don't sing. Just don't even come outside.
But of course, elected officials, people with real power, they also fed the assassination culture. This was happening just last month from the Senate Minority Leader.
He's acting like a king, a mob boss, a wannabe dictator. He said he wanted to be a dictator on day one. It looks like he's extending it. When the founders drafted our Constitution, they feared a man like Donald Trump.
Well, if Trump's a dictator, then he doesn't have too much to, you don't have too much to think about, to think, well, it's noble then to take out the dictator, right? They get that, right? So actually calling Trump Hitler and a dictator, it's always been a venal lie. They always lie because they have nothing else. But it was all made more credible to the untrained mind because of the one-man crusade that Comey led against Trump. Again, going all the way back to 2015. And as I said earlier, the Secret Service reportedly interviewed Comey today about the shell game. We're going to learn more about the potential charges in the days ahead. But isn't it time that a person of prominence who should know better face some real consequences here before something real tragic happens? At the very least, shouldn't the D.C. Bar Association have something to say about Jim Comey?
Yes.
Is this what an officer of the court, is how an officer of the court should act, given the stakes for the country on the heels of 2 assassination attempts in 1 year?
Lock him up.
Comey and company threw everything they had at Donald Trump for years. They knew that he would expose their con if he were reelected, and he did. Literally a year ago. And he talked about it. They thought they'd see him maybe barred from the presidency, and they were sending around memes of him in an orange jumpsuit. They thought it was really funny.
Yeah, that backfired.
But in the end, Trump turned the tables on all of them, and they showed their true colors. And voters saw that the Democrats are the true threats to democracy. Trump saved us, at least for 4 years, from their venal reign of incompetence. And that's the angle.
Yeah, everything that they are saying about him is what they've done. They've done it. That's how they get their information. They've done it, and they're trying to blame him for it. Well, it's not going to work. But anyway, Comey's in some deep doo-doo. But anyway, let's take another look here. I don't know. I can't think like those Democrats do. I can't think like that. It's like I said, it's all about money. What it is, it's all going to hit them in the wallet. That's what the problem is. And they're scared of that. They're afraid they're going to lose everything. And this is what brings this around. That's why the Democrats don't like it, because they're losing power.
Is Francie Hakes, former federal prosecutor, and Alex Marlow, Breitbart editor-in-chief. Let's start with you, Francie. Your reaction to what you saw with this Comey attempt at explaining the Shell post. I knew that 47, but I didn't know the other. Is any of this believable?
BS.
Well, Laura, you made a great point when you called it the Comey con, and that's been going on since before President Trump became President Trump 45. And they allowed the country, they pushed the narrative, he and Brennan and others pushed the narrative that the president was a Russian asset. And now, after everything that's happened, after surviving 2 assassination attempts and the assassination culture that Comey himself can be traced back to being largely responsible for, because he labeled the president a danger to America, for him to now play into this assassination culture and play footsie with those who would assassinate the president is revolting and appalling. And as someone who is not just the FBI director, but the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, he certainly knows better. He's prosecuted these kinds of cases himself inside the Department of Justice and at the FBI, and he definitely knows better. He's playing footsie with attempting assassinations.
Yep, that's right.
But my question was, do you think he's telling the truth? Do you think he's telling the truth?
Absolutely not. Can you really believe anything he says? He lied about leaking documents to a lawyer friend.
Yeah.
You can't believe anything Jim Comey says, and I don't think he's telling the truth at all. And here's my question, Laura. When Secret Service questioned him, did they ask him to see his devices to see how he has been treating this photograph with friends and family, for example? Did he tell them what he really meant? Or did he lie to Secret Service agents?
Yes, he did. He lied. That's what Democrats do. They are the kings of lying, the Democrats are. When they screw up, they blame it on somebody else. That's what they do. And then you got idiots, which I don't understand, believe that crap. All right? But now there's I don't know, probably 70 to 80% of Americans now, or let me not Americans, let's just say voters, that are understanding what's going on. That the Democrats, all they're interested in is having power so they can destroy our country. You do the math. All right? Hey, let me know your thoughts. I'd appreciate it.